Alright guys, so today we're going to do something a little bit different. This right here behind me is my 7th mining rig that goes to my farm here. And I'm at the point now where the issue I'm having is managing 7 different rigs is becoming a little bit too daunting in a Windows environment, utilizing like TeamViewer to monitor temps, hash rates, and all that kind of stuff. Now I do have some other applications on my phone that help with that chore, but overall it's still not really seamless. It's not nicely packaged into something I can monitor very easily at one glance. And so I'm going to give something else a shot today. I'm actually going to try out a Linux distribution called Hive OS. It's fairly new to the mining scene. There are other Linux options out there, obviously, that work just fine. The one thing that's driving me towards Hive OS is, one, the charting and like graph reporting is really nice and looks a lot better than anything else I've seen out there. And the other thing is that most of the Linux distributions out there don't support Wi-Fi adapters. You have to run via Ethernet. With my farming setup, with 7 rigs, and they're not all centralized in one location, it's really difficult to run Ethernet cables everywhere. So I kind of have to go with the Wi-Fi option. So Hive OS does support Wi-Fi. I'm actually utilizing here one of these just basic TP-Link wireless nano adapters. These things are like $8 on Amazon, so really easy to set up and go with. So I'm going with the Hive OS because, one, the performance is supposedly stellar, like most Linux options out there are. It has some awesome visuals and UI for reporting and charting and monitoring, obviously. And then again, the Wi-Fi inclusion. So in this video, I'm going to go ahead and go through the process of how to set up a USB thumb drive with that image, configure it, and then get it up and running on one of your mining rigs. Now, obviously, this is kind of weird. An ultra-wide on a mining rig is way overkill. All I'm doing right now is I was basically just testing out different power and overclocking combinations to get the best performance possible on this particular system. So with this combination of cards I have, I want to make sure and eke the most performance I can while being as efficient as I can as well. So I was using the monitor for that stage of it, but obviously once we get this set up and get this Hive OS installed on here, it'll be headless. We won't have to actually utilize any monitors, keyboards, mouse, and like that. So this is just for the initial setup that we're showing here. So during this video, I'll be bouncing back and forth between some live video, screen shares on my primary desktop, and probably a few over-the-shoulder kind of camera angles, being that I don't have any capture software on this guy yet, but I want to show the configuration side of it. So a few different types of video bouncing back and forth. I apologize if there's a little bit of background noise. 2 of my rigs are in this utility room behind us, and they're noisy. So, but I don't want to turn them off because then I lose money. So they're going to keep going. So I'll try and speak loud enough so it's not an issue. But with that said, let's go ahead and jump over to my other desktop and start with the configuration of the USB thumb drive. And just before we get started, just wanted to clarify. So they recommend at least an 8 gigabyte USB thumb drive for this Linux image. I'm going to go a little bit larger just because it's not really any more expensive at this point to get larger ones. I'm going to utilize this Samsung 32 gigabyte USB 3.0 drive. I like it because it's cheap, it has good read and write speeds, and the all-metal body might help dissipate some heat while it's running basically the entire operating system from this drive. So we'll see, but that's what I'm going to utilize. Again, they state the largest you need is actually only 8 gigabytes, but anyways, that's what we're going to use. Alright, so just a quick note on USB selection for running Hive OS. Basically, I tried out 3 different drives, and with varying levels of success. I'll start with the one that I would not recommend first. So this is just a really basic PNY 8 gigabyte USB 2.0 drive. Really inexpensive. It did install the Hive OS fine, but when it went to try and update to the most current version, it kept rebooting. Like it couldn't handle the update. And so I'm going to go ahead and say that I actually wouldn't recommend 8 gigabyte. I think there's something restriction-wise in regards to the size. But again, didn't work for me, so no to those. Both of these two did work. The first one is this SanDisk Duo 32 gigabyte USB 3.0. The Duo is because it can also has a micro USB on the back. But basically, it was a quick install, good write speeds, works just fine. It does get a little bit warm when it's put into the system, but not overly hot to where I thought there'd be issues. So that does work. They're roughly $10-11 online. I'll put a link below. But my favorite is a Samsung. This is a Samsung 32 gigabyte USB, also 3.0. see 32 there, and the blue for 3.0. This one doesn't get hot at all, which is really nice. It seems to, I guess the all metal body kind of seems to dissipate the heat a little bit better. So this is my favorite pick. I think it's about $12, $13 online. Link also below. So I'd probably recommend this one if anyone wanted to give this a shot. Good price, good performance, low heat. As far as Wi-Fi adapters, so this TP-Link right here works just fine. I have it installed now in 3 different systems, and all 3 picked it up and went without any issues. The actual model number is, you can see right here, TLWN725N. Again, $8 or $9 online. Works great, no problems at all. But at the same time, this other TP-Link adapter I had laying around, same brand. I think the specs are very similar, but this one did not work. So they're definitely not. It's probably a different chipset or something like that. But again, go with what we know works, and this is one of them. It's one of the most popular USB adapters on Amazon. So really easy. Link below is in the description. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with the download of Hive OS to install on a USB thumb drive. So first off, go to hiveos.farm, and here's the main download button here, and go ahead and just download the zip archive. And again, it is around 2 gigabytes, so it's going to take a hot minute to download. While that's going, I'll go ahead and kind of show you some of the key features of this particular operating system. Obviously, it's got a lot of pre-built miners built in. It works with both AMD and NVIDIA GPUs. You can even utilize them mix and match in your system, which is kind of neat. Now, one thing to note that it does cost money to actually utilize this service if you have more than 3 rigs. If you have 3 or less rigs, you can actually test it for free, no issues. So basically, for me, being that I have 7, I'm going to test 1 or 2. If I like the setup, if I like the way it monitors and allows me to keep track of everything, I'll probably move all 7 to this, because $3 a month is pretty reasonable for what it provides. They do have a really basic quick start video, but honestly, it's super high level. Not as much detail as I'll provide you with here. And then here are just a few screenshots of the different parts of the operating system. So this is this is showing monitoring for basically, looks like 20 different rigs. Again, you have uptime, downtime, what miner they're using, hash rates, GPU temps across the board. So pretty cool there. Detailed breakdown of the actual rigs. So on this rig, there's 9 GPUs, shows overall hash rate, other information there. Again, there is built-in overclocking, so you can overclock your GPUs directly from this web UI. And then this is some of the stuff I talked about earlier, some of the stats and charts you can get. Again, just kind of a little added bonus. But I do like, I'm kind of a chart geek, so this is the kind of stuff I'm happy about here. But going back to the main page here, they have some basic information about different attributes and whatnot you can run within the operating system. Honestly, it's pretty straightforward, but I would recommend taking some time to read through this stuff here. There is also a more detailed help guide where it talks about how to do certain things. So, for example, setting up your Wi-Fi. That'll actually bring you to this and give you a better explanation as to how to do certain things. I'll show Wi-Fi specifically here, but again, there's a little bit of support here. But now let's go ahead and take the file. I already have it pre-downloaded, so I'm going to stop this one. Let's go ahead and take the file and get it prepped to put onto our thumb drive. Alright, so here I have the zip archive that has the actual file inside. Now again, this particular file is roughly 2 gigabytes, but unzipped, the file is just over 7 gigabytes. So again, should work on an 8 gigabyte thumb drive. I'm using a little bit bigger. Alright, so while we're getting a few other things ready, let's go ahead and extract this archive. Put it wherever you need to put it so you can find it easily. And while that's going, a few tools that are useful when doing this. Now, they actually recommend this HDD raw copy to copy the Linux image to a thumb drive. I had issues with this particular application. Basically, it creates 2 partitions, one that's readable within Windows, one that's not. And it kept on bouncing back and forth between the two, giving me all kinds of problems. So I used an application called SD Card Formatter to basically re-wipe that USB drive and went back to Win32 Disk Imager. Now, I've used this program a lot for different Raspberry Pi projects, and it works great, and that did in fact work perfectly for this. So I'm actually going to show using this for the application. Alright, so my archive is just about done extracting the image, and I'm going to go ahead and launch Win32 Disk Imager. And this is very, very simple to use. Basically, put your USB drive in your system. Utilize the folder browser to basically go and find the image that you just extracted. And then once you're ready to go, verify what your USB drive letter is. In my case, it's G. And then I'm going to go hit write. So this is going to write the image file to the drive. And just gives you a warning. It's going to completely wipe it. That's fine. And we'll let it do its thing. Now, depending on how fast your drive is, this could take a while. Again, it's writing roughly 8 gigabytes of data to the drive. Fast forward through this. Alright, so it's wrapping up here. On this particular USB drive, it's taking just over 5 minutes to write the image. And when it's done, this is basically splitting it into 2 partitions. One that is Linux only, one that you can read within Windows. And so it actually just popped up the readable image here. Don't format that. It's wanting you to format the Linux part, and you don't want to do that. So hit OK. Write successful. Go ahead and exit that. And then again, I have 2 separate images here on this thumb drive. So the one that's accessible is very small. It's only 20 megabytes. And this one actually has some of the configuration files on it that we're going to utilize. So right here, this rig config example, we'll launch that. It just gives you an example of what you need to do to get these configured for the for online, so you can monitor this online. Now, before we enter the information here, we need to go back to Hive OS and register for an account, and then add your first rig to the account, and then you can put that information in this rig ID area here. So I'm going to go back to that web page. I'm already logged in here. I already have an account. Go ahead and register for an account, and once that's done, you hit go inside. And this is your really basic dashboard. Again, I do have one system in here. This system is not yet up and running, but I've already configured it. So I'll go ahead and show you how to configure a new system. So before you do that, though, the first thing I would do is go over here to wallets. And basically what you're going to do is add a wallet that you're going to utilize. I currently have 2 wallets in here. You can have quite a few different ones. And the nice thing is they actually give you templates that are here laid out based on where your pool is going to be leveraged from and whatnot. So I'm currently using NanoPool. I have a few different accounts in there, and that's what I'm using. So I'll click on an example for that. Basically, you throw in your email, your Ethereum address, your Zcash address. Your D-wallet is basically like this is Siacoin if you want to have a dual miner going on. You select your mining executable, and if you want the second miner, you designate it here. Name this particular wallet, and then save it, and you're good to go. And again, I have 2 here set up, and you can set one as primary. You can also clone these and utilize it as a template for other wallets. Now, if I go over here to rigs, again, I have one that's been set up already. I'm going to go ahead and create a new rig for demonstration purposes. So one of my rigs is ZMiner 01. It has 6 GPUs. We're going to do Claymore Dual for that as well. I'm going to use the other wallet. And then a password. Now you can auto-generate. I'd probably recommend doing that. You can generate a password to utilize for that. I'm probably going to do my own password here, which I'll enter in, and then you hit add, and it will add this particular rig to your list. So I'm going to go ahead and do my own password and come right back. Alright, and so with that, I now have a new rig in my rig listings here, and you'll notice I am using a different wallet. So again, it supports multiple accounts, multiple pools, lots you can do there. And you'll notice it does have now a rig ID. Alright, so what we need here, you already have your password generated from what we just did, and now go ahead and copy that rig ID. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and open up this rig configuration example document in your text editor. Go ahead and paste your rig ID in between the quotation marks. And then you're going to add the rig password that you just set up. So whatever your password is, that's it there. Now all you need to do is you're going to do a, as it states right here, you're going to do a save as. And you're going to save it as rig.config. Alright, so over here I now have my rig.config file. pertaining to this particular information here. So good to go. And a quick note before moving on, you actually can set all this up directly from the mining rig if you have a monitor and a keyboard and mouse plugged into it. This is kind of a preset that supposedly doesn't require that you have a unit with a head, like a monitor. Basically, you could set this up beforehand, plug it in, and it would launch. I'm going to do both just to kind of show both, but now we have that particular part configured. And then if you're using Wi-Fi, go to Network, go to the Wi-Fi text document, and you're going to enter in your network's SSID and then password. So go ahead and do that now. And save that. At this point, basically our pre-configuration is done. So go ahead and unplug the USB thumb drive from the computer you're utilizing to set up the image and take it to your mining rig. Alright, so we have our thumb drive, and we're going to go ahead and power the system down. And then you're going to insert your thumb drive, preferably into a USB 3.0 port. And again, I already have my TP-Link USB adapter for Wi-Fi also plugged in, so hopefully, again, we'll see what happens, but hopefully it works off the bat as they claim it will. So with that, go ahead and power your machine back on. Now you have two options. You can go directly to the BIOS and change your boot configuration from there, or you can just tap the F11 key to bring up the boot menu for this initial run and select the USB drive as your bootable device. It wouldn't boot to the thumb drive beforehand, so I had to go into my BIOS and basically figure out what was going on. So it looks like the issue is I was booting to Windows 10 by default, and so I had Windows 10 OS configuration enabled, which is UEFI enabled BIOS. I need to go back to a legacy BIOS for this to work, so I disabled the Windows 10 support and went back to Windows 7 support, which basically enables that legacy BIOS. So hopefully that fixes the issue. Aha! It's going. So yeah, you got to disable Windows 10 support and enable Windows 7 support just for it to read it off of the USB thumb drive. So it's going through the initial boot up sequence here. My USB Wi-Fi receiver is flashing, so it looks like USB or Wi-Fi support does work. Detected the NVIDIA drivers, and we're up. Alright, for the remainder of the video here, I'm going to go ahead and bring the camera up so you can see what we're doing. I'm also going to kill the light so the screen's a little bit easier to focus on, so I'll go ahead and do that right now. Alright, so this is the command line for the Hive OS. As you can see right here, it did detect all 6 of my GPUs, so good to see that there. I don't see an IP address, so I don't know if it actually did utilize the Wi-Fi. My USB Wi-Fi adapter is blinking, so I think it's working, but we'll figure that out here in a second. It's saying that it did not actually find my config files. Either I put it in the wrong folder or I did something wrong. So I'll just go ahead and copy this, or enter in the number that we had before into the spot. That way it can know which rig this is and attach it to my Hive OS account. Alright, so we're not on the internet, so let's go ahead and open up a terminal window. Wi-Fi. Alright, enter in my SSID. And then my password. Wi-Fi setup is done. Cool. So we're good there. Let's go back to that main window. Try this again. Alright, and so I just did a sudo reboot command to see if my network settings will stick on reboot. Oh, yes! I have an IP address. Alright. And it looks like it took the settings from my last inputs and actually did save the rig, because that is my rig right there. So, with that completed, I can go back to the web UI and basically get everything going from there. Now, this is pretty obvious, but miner start, miner stop will start and stop mining. You can also set up to automatically start mining upon reboot. And I have this particular motherboard set to where if the system is interrupted power-wise, it'll automatically boot. and get back into this state. But before we hop over, let's go ahead and take a look at the miner screen. And so here we have Claymore Dual Miner up and going, and you can see here, yeah, so this is to be expected. My hash rates are kind of low. I'm usually at like 155-ish, 160, but that's because I don't have any overclocks applied to this profile. So I can do that later. I'm not going to do that in this video. I just want to make sure they're up and going, and it does show all 6 GPUs mining. My shares are accepted, and we're good to go there. So with that, let's go ahead and jump on over to the other computer and take a look at the interface from the web UI. So let's go ahead and go to rigs, a little refresh here. And there it is. So it is up and going using the Claymore miner. And we can click on it here to get the breakdown. So here it shows all 6 GPUs. It shows the current temperatures of these GPUs, and then my current hash rate. Again, this is pretty low for what I usually run at. I'm usually more around like 155, 160 with these particular cards. But again, that's because I don't have any overclocking enabled. I'll do a different video showing how to do that. But that is exactly what it's supposed to be doing. So from this view, things look pretty good there. And here under the monitoring, again, this is showing the active rigs I have. This particular GPU is obviously running a little bit hot, which it won't be a problem once I configure everything, because with my power modifications, everything runs like at mid-60s, so that will be taken care of shortly. But overall, I'm liking what I see here. I'll have to wait and see, once I get more miners added to the pool, what exactly usefulness this has. But we have our boot up time, we have our active mining time, hash rate, just information about the GPUs. Alright, so here we're back, and what I was able to do is basically bring 2 more systems online to Hive OS for this farm to kind of, again, assess how it works when grouping the miners together. My end goal is to get all 7 on here if I like the platform enough to change everything over from Windows to this Linux build. And so far, I'm really liking what we've done here. I'll go over here to the monitoring page first. And so basically, this is set up right now where I have it set to every minute, basically refresh this page and show me the new information. So right now, at this particular moment, I'm running 3 systems, which is the max you can do for free. Again, I'm kind of testing this. 3 systems, all mining Ethereum, using Claymore Dual Miner, and I do have some light overclocks applied. You'll notice that this went from 120 something to roughly 150, just applying some really basic overclocks. And again, I'll show that in a different video, but just to give you an idea, this is the overclocking that I applied. It's pretty simple, but again, I'll go into detail a little bit later for that. So I have three different mining rigs here. Each is actually going to a different nanopool account or different wallet. And then again, it shows you all 3 GPUs, fan speed, temperature, and what each GPU is hashing. So nice little detail at that level. The next thing is, if you go over here to the stats page, it shows you some interesting information here. So basically, this is the overall account showing number of rigs, number of GPUs. Obviously, it's gone up and down when I would turn systems off and test different things or add new systems to it. My Ethereum hashing, I was trying different things out, overclocking, crashing things back and forth here, and then I added the other 2 systems. And then I even tried some an Equihash algorithm, running some Zcash for a little bit just to verify that it does in fact work. And that works just fine. And then I can also go down to a more granular, detailed view of the specific rigs, and again see temperature charts, fan speeds, my different algorithms for mining. So again, pretty cool breakout of information that you can see at this point. All right, and just to kind of show that it is pretty easy to reconfigure these things to mine different currencies, using the different algorithms and whatnot. If I go over to the rigs page here and I modify or edit this particular rig, I can switch directly over to Zcash. Hit OK. and basically it sent the message. It's going to take a hot minute for it to actually switch over. You can see now it's using a different miner for Zcash Equihash algorithms. And it says under the notification, again, there has been a change done. So I'll give it a few minutes here, then it'll kick over, and you can kind of see what that looks like. All right, and while we're waiting for that to change, I'm going to go over ahead and go to the to this specific rig here, and under this tuning setting, there's something kind of neat. Basically, you can establish a watchdogs. So with Claymore being that's the miner I'm using right now, I can say this one averages about 135 to 139 megahash per second. You can say if I drop below like 120, to go ahead and reboot the miner. So give it maybe like 3 minutes, and if it doesn't adjust back to where it should be, reboot the miner, and then reboot the entire system. If say after 10 minutes it still can't get to that level. So that's just one very, very simple example. I'm not even sure I'll run at that level, but that's kind of a neat thing there. And then again, going back to the monitor, everything should be good now. Yep. So now we're back on. We have 2 systems mining Ethereum, one mining Zcash, the Equihash algorithm at 2.6 Sol, and then the 2 combined rigs here at 233 megahash per second. So running really well. So far, pretty pleased. But basically, what's going to happen here? I'm going to let these things run for about a week, utilizing this operating system. If everything goes really well, then I'll move the other 4 systems I have onto this platform and pay the $3 per month to be able to just monitor this all from one location, change my settings, overclocking, things of that nature, all from one place, which is really nice, versus having to utilize something like TeamViewer or log into the different computers individually. This just seems a lot cleaner, a lot more concise. So hopefully this works out and ends up being a great option for those that have multiple systems. All right, so this is the week 1 update after having my rigs on there, and turns out Hive OS is pretty great. I've gone ahead and added all 9 of my rigs to the farm, with the 10th one coming later this week. And cool thing also, they released a mobile app for Android that allows to monitor and your farm without having to basically have a tab open on your internet browser on your phone all the time when monitoring it remotely. There are also automatic email features if certain rigs go down and whatnot, but we'll get into those later. But basically, I like the setup. I'm happy paying the amount per rig. I think it's well worth it for the time it saves. You should be able to watch this video and basically get your own farm up and running based on what I've done here. But overall, I'm very happy with how Hive OS allows me to monitor and configure all my rigs at once. And be sure to be on the lookout for upcoming videos that show profile switching for multiple rigs at once, as well as how to apply overclocking settings to your rigs. So be sure to hit subscribe if you want a notification when those get uploaded. As always, thanks for watching, and hit me up in the comments with any questions.